Welcome back, everyone, to a fresh week of Digital Dispatch.
Great to be back.
Yeah, it is. And first off, just a quick apology from us for the recent gap in our schedule. Things got a bit hectic.
They certainly did.
We really hope you had a chance to maybe grab some downtime. If you did, well, we're actually genuinely curious. What did you get up to?
Yeah, hope you had a good break.
And maybe more importantly for this crowd, did any cool new tech stories catch your eye while you were off?
Always looking for those.
Seriously, if something popped up, drop it in the comments below. We'd honestly love to check out what you're finding interesting out there.
Absolutely. Sharing those finds is, half the fun.
Okay, well, speaking of interesting finds, we've definitely got something pretty exciting lined up for our return today.
Okay, yeah.
We're diving deep into a really fascinating development. It's in the world of electric mobility.
Always something happening there.
Right. And this one's marked by some reports that, well, they really grab your attention. The potential implications here they feel pretty significant.
More than just the usual incremental step.
I think so. It feels like it could be a fundamental shift, maybe. So we really want to unpack that today, figure out why it might matter to you.
Sounds good.
Our mission, as always, is to kind of pull out the core insights, make it all clear, engaging, hopefully spark a few of those aha moments,
Without getting bogged down in the weeds.
Exactly. Keep it accessible. So with that, let's get started. What is this big buzz in the EV world right now?
Okay, so the buzz, it really centers around this Finnish startup. They're called Donut Lab.
Donut Lab. Okay, memorable name.
It is, isn't it? And they've got this, pretty revolutionary approach to engine technology, or motor technology, I should say, for EVs.
Uh-huh.
You might have seen some headlines flying around. They're pretty bold. Stuff like destroying EVs.
Oh, okay. Strong words.
Very strong. And they're boasting about these incredible horsepower to weight ratios.
Right.
Now, that kind of talk, it's partly marketing, obviously, but it actually points to a real challenge in how EVs are often designed now. Well, the powertrain is often centralized, right? You get a motor, maybe two, and then hardware to get the power to the wheels. Donut Lab's idea is more decentralized.
Okay.
And that approach could fundamentally change how we think about getting power to the road. It might unlock totally new vehicle designs, new performance characteristics we haven't really seen.
So it's not just about bigger numbers, it's about the whole setup.
Exactly. It's potentially rethinking the whole EV blueprint, as you put it.
Rethinking the blueprint. Yeah, I like that framing. So who is Donut Lab? Where did they come from?
Right. So they're actually a spin-off from a company called Verge Motorcycles. You might know them.
Oh, okay. Verge. Yeah.
And what's really interesting about Donut Lab is their philosophy.
Yeah.
It's very platform-based.
Platform-based, meaning?
Meaning they've developed this sort of modular system. Take interchangeable hardware, interchangeable software components, all designed for electric vehicles.
Like Legos for EVs.
Kind of, yeah, like a toolkit. It allows manufacturers to build all sorts of different EVs. We're talking high-performance supercars at one end,
Okay.
and maybe more practical things like drones at the other, all using the same core building blocks.
Wow. And the main selling points are?
The core promises, they revolve around much better efficiency, quite a bit of weight reduction, and potentially much lower manufacturing costs.
Because of that modularity, presumably.
Exactly. If different companies can just sort of mix and match standard parts to build specialized vehicles, well, you can see the potential savings and flexibility there.
That modular idea does sound really powerful. Are companies actually using this platform yet? Are there examples out in the wild?
There are, yeah. And the early adopters really show off how versatile this approach is.
Okay, like who?
Well, one is a Latvian company called Aruga, O-R-U-G-A.
Aruga.
They make off-road EVs,
Oh.
and they showed off a new vehicle recently. I think it was at the Slush event in Helsinki.
Right. Slush. Big tech event.
Yeah. And this vehicle, it's been described as kind of a cross between a snowmobile and a motorcycle.
Interesting combo.
Isn't it? And then the other company that's been mentioned is HyperQ Aerospace. They're Australian.
Aerospace. So flying things.
Yep. They're integrating Donut Lab's platform into their electric aircraft designs.
Okay, so from off-road buggies to electric planes, that really does show the range.
It absolutely does. It gives you a real sense of the breadth of applications they're aiming for with this one core platform.
But the piece of tech that seems to be getting the most headlines, the thing maybe behind that destroying EVs claim, it's this donut motor,
At
right?
the start of the show, yeah, the donut motor.
Tell us about that. What makes it special?
Okay, so it was officially unveiled, I think, back at CES 2025.
Right?
And it's fundamentally a modular in-wheel electric motor technology.
In wheel. So the motor's literally inside the wheel itself.
Exactly. That's the core innovation. It's designed to be integrated right into the wheel hub area. And since they first showed it, the idea has kind of grown into a whole family of these donut motors. The most powerful version they're talking about now apparently claims, get this, 845 horsepower.
Wow. 845 horsepower from one wheel motor.
That's the claim for their top-end version, yeah. A huge amount of power concentrated right there at the wheel.
That just sounds like instant, crazy acceleration. But wait, putting motors directly in the wheels, hasn't that always been like a really tricky engineering problem?
That is a fantastic point, yes. It absolutely has been.
What's the issue usually?
The big one is something called unsprung mass.
Unsprung mass, right. That's the weight that the suspension has to handle directly, like the wheels, tires, brakes.
Precisely. And adding a heavy motor right there into that unsprung mass can really mess with a vehicle's handling and how smooth the ride feels.
Yeah, makes sense. It's like trying to run with heavy weights strapped to your ankles instead of in a backpack.
That's a great analogy. And Donut Labs CEO, Mark Letomaki, he tackles this head on. He acknowledges that historically, this huge unsprung mass was the major barrier for in-wheel motors.
So what's their solution? Or your argument?
His argument is basically that the torque and power density they've managed to achieve with their donut motor is so high.
Meaning lots of power in a small, light package.
Exactly. So much power and torque for the actual physical weight of the motor that the motor's contribution to the overall unsprung mass becomes, well, he argues it becomes relatively insignificant.
So the power benefit outweighs the handling drawback because the motor itself is now so efficient for its weight.
That seems to be the core argument, yeah. He suggests the trade-off calculation has shifted dramatically because of the sheer efficiency and power density they've reached.
Okay, so that combination, the high power, the claimed reduction, and the relative weight issue, that's the foundation for saying they could destroy EVs. How does that fundamentally change things compared to say, a Tesla powertrain?
Right. So think about a typical EV powertrain now. You've often got a central motor, maybe one front, one back. That motor then needs to connect to the wheels. And that requires things like gearboxes, drive shafts, differentials.
Right, a whole transmission system, basically.
Exactly. And all that hardware adds weight, it adds complexity, it adds cost to manufacture and maintain.
Okay.
By putting the motor right in the wheel, Donut Lab essentially gets rid of that entire power transmission system.
Ah, I see. No drive shafts, no diffs?
Potentially none of that.
Right.
Which leads to a much simpler overall design. It means lighter vehicles, fewer moving parts to potentially go wrong.
Which could mean better efficiency just from the weight loss alone.
Right. And potentially cheaper to build in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a really fundamental shift in how you get the power from the battery to the road.
It really sounds like it. But you mentioned earlier it's a platform. So it's not just the motors, right? There's more to it.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
The motor is maybe the most eye-catching part, but the Donut Lab platform is broader than that.
What else is included?
It also includes things like modular battery modules.
Okay, scalable batteries.
Yeah. And advanced computer units, the brains, for controlling the vehicle, plus all the necessary operating software.
And these are modular too.
That's the key. These components are designed to come in different sizes, different performance levels, so you can spec them up or down depending on the vehicle.
Which loops back to how they can use it for everything from off-roaders to aircraft.
Exactly. That inherent modularity is what gives it that adaptability. They've even mentioned it could be used in robotics.
Robotics, huh? Interesting.
It really underscores the flexibility they're aiming for.
And it sounds like Donut Lab isn't exactly shy about promoting this stuff.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Their claims are pretty confident.
Like what?
Well, they flat out assert their donut motors are the most advanced, powerful, and versatile in-wheel motors ever created.
Okay, bold claim number one.
And then they add that they possess the highest torque density and highest power density in the world.
Right, you mentioned density earlier. Just remind us quickly what that means in practical terms.
Sure. So torque density is basically how much twisting force, how much grunt they can pack into a motor of a certain size or weight.
Okay. More grunt, less bulk.
Exactly. And power density is similar, but for horsepower, how much power they can squeeze into that same size or weight constraint.
So they're essentially saying they get more bang for the buck, physically speaking, than anyone else.
That's the claim. More power, more torque from a smaller, lighter motor than any competitor out there. That's a huge deal if true.
Definitely. Now, while those are, yeah, very bold pronouncements from the company itself, it's always good to get an outside take. I think I saw that BBC Top Gear weighed in. They had maybe a slightly more grounded perspective.
Yes, that's right. BBC Top Gear, while definitely impressed by the tech itself, they offered a more, let's say, tempered prediction, at least for the immediate future in regular road cars.
What did they suggest?
Their experts thought that manufacturers who adopt Donut Labs' system might, at least initially, go for maybe a pair of smaller motors.
Ah, not the single giant 845 P one per wheel.
Probably not right away for mass market. Maybe something more like, say, 400 horsepower each, positioned on the rear axle.
So two motors on the back wheels. That would still be 800 horsepower.
Exactly.
Huh.
Still a seriously powerful two-wheel drive vehicle. But it's maybe more pragmatic, more easily integrated application of the technology in the near term.
That makes sense. It uses the core tech, but maybe in a less radical layout initially.
Precisely. It kind of highlights that while that 845 horsepower figure really grabs headlines, the actual near-term impact we might see on the road could leverage the benefits of the in-wheel design, the lightness, the direct drive, but maybe configured in a slightly more conventional way at first.
Okay, so summing that up then. Whether we see an 845 horsepower wheel spinning on a family sedan next year or not.
Probably not next year.
Right. But the underlying innovation here, it still feels like a really significant step for electric mobility overall. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Regardless of exactly how it gets implemented first or second or third, Donut Lab has undeniably put forward a fundamentally different approach.
Yeah.
It's potentially game-changing for EV design. They're really challenging the established ways of doing things in EV engineering.
And opening up new possibilities.
Totally new possibilities
Yeah.
for performance, for efficiency, maybe even for the whole shapes and structure, the architecture of future electric vehicles.
Yeah.
That modular platform idea, combined with these advanced in-wheel motors, it paints a really compelling picture for where electric mobility could go.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener, what does all this really mean? Well, whether you're someone who follows every little development in EVs, or maybe you just appreciate cool, groundbreaking innovation.
Which is hopefully why you're tuning in.
Exactly. Donut Labs technology offers this really fascinating glimpse into how EV design and performance might be shifting.
It really does.
The promise of vehicles across all sorts of applications that are lighter, more efficient, maybe even more affordable down the line, that's definitely something worth watching.
For sure.
We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights into this pretty exciting innovation coming out of Finland. What parts of this tech really stand out to you? You know, what questions does it raise in your mind?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
We definitely encourage you to keep exploring it. And hey, share your thoughts or share any other cool tech stories you stumbled across during your break, maybe. Find some like-minded people, start a conversation.
Absolutely. It feels like we're right on the edge of some big shifts in how we build electric vehicles, and Donut Lab is definitely pushing those boundaries. Very interesting stuff.
Couldn't agree more. Well, we wish you a really wonderful week ahead. Hope it's filled with curiosity and maybe some fun discoveries.
Stay curious.
And keep an eye out because we'll be back with more cool and optimistic science and tech stories right